I'm Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I'm going to talk about this special Shabbat in which we read, in addition to the regular reading of Vayakhel Pekudei, we read the Parsha HaChodesh. Parsha HaChodesh is the chapter that is read just before the beginning of the new month of Nissan, in which Pesach falls. We're now living in a time where we find ourselves, many of us around the world, quarantined, either self-quarantined or by virtue of the fact that we've come in contact with people who might have the coronavirus. We're not being able to go to work. We're not able to attend social events. We're sitting in our houses. We have a lot of idle time to fill. So this idle time is forced upon us. So what can we do? What can we learn from this Torah reading, this special Torah reading of this week, in terms of what we should do with this idle time and what Parshat HaChodesh means to us? First of all, the Torah reads as follows. It says, HaChodesh hazeh lochem Rosh Chodashim. This month, referring to the month of Nissan, shall be to you the beginning of all months. Now the Rashi, in the very first sentence of the Torah, in Bereshis, he asks a question. He says, why does the Torah begin with Bereshit instead of beginning with HaChodesh hazeh lochem, which is the first commandment that is given to the children of Israel, to the Jewish people as a whole? That commandment to sanctify the month is the very first one. So since it's the first commandment and the Torah is a book of commandments, why wasn't that first? So Rashi quotes, he says, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Lo hayat tzorech es haTorah el me'achodesh hazeh lochem. Ma tam patach b'Bereshis mishum koach masav. The Torah should have begun with this mitzvah. Why did it not? Because Hashem wanted to tell us that he has the right to give this land of Israel to whomever he wants. But then the question is, and then the Table Shalom goes on to ask this, he says, why would you have to think about, okay, so it's the first commandment, but why would you have to think about beginning the Torah with that commandment? Because the Torah begins with all the various stories, the creation of the world, and then the happenings with our forefathers and so on. So Rashi says, Mishum shemitzvazu shal chodesh hazeh lochem inyanu more al ahavas Hashem. This teaches us the love of Hashem, and the love of Hashem is the basis of being a Jew, the love of God. Now, when we have this commandment of putting of HaChodesh, this month shall be to you, this is a concept that is foreign, has been foreign to a lot of people, is foreign to a lot of people. And the concept is one of putting holiness into time. In other words, instead of just spending idle time, our time is holy. We could use this time to do what Hashem wants us to do, putting holiness into time. Part of the observance of this mitzvah of announcing the new month each time is called Kirush Levana, sanctifying the new month. And in doing that, we go out and we make a blessing that thanking God for giving us this new month. We're looking at the moon, which is symbolic of the new month and symbolic of the Jewish people. Symbolic of the Jewish people because the Jewish people have, through history, gone through times of great grandeur and great depths of despair. The key, though, to being a Jew is to recognize that we're in these difficult times that could be despair. In fact, no, we're like the moon. When the moon turns to almost nothing, we know that it's going to turn around, and it can turn around the very next moment. And that's the teaching that we have as a Jewish people. The concept of recognizing that we are created anew all the time. The Netivot Shalom says about the concept of HaChodesh Hazeh, he says as follows. He says, it teaches us that we have a special power as a Jewish people. In all kinds of circumstances, a Jew can be like a new creation. That the sun stays the same all the time. The sun doesn't change. The moon changes. So he says the sun tamid hu b'matzav kavua beinu mishtanim lo, doesn't change. But achalavana, the moon is always in the concept of changing and renewing. He says we have renewal, a renewal every single day and every single moment. Every moment of our life is something different. And one day is not like the other, is not like the other. V'yesh etz hachadashos hagadol b'chol chodesh, sheba zaman shahalavona mitametet ad shmagia le'efes hagamor bechinat vayomesh choshech. The moon gets to the point where it almost completely disappears, goes into darkness. We look like we're in darkness, but then we know that's not the case. So the key that we must do is that we need to make the time that we have. God gives us time to do mitzvahs, to study Torah, to be kind. When I mentioned that earlier, that we had to emulate a love of God, show the love of God. How do you show the love of God? You show the love of God by loving his fellow human being. In this particular time of difficulty, we are seeing so many examples of the love of one human being for another. It's truly an amazing sight to see people who are going out of their way, helping other people. I'm sure I've told this story before. Moshe Feinstein once went into a small class where they were studying Talmud for the first time of young children. And they were studying the Talmud, the tractate of Bava Metzia. Bava Metzia is a tractate that deals with all kinds of civil laws. If somebody harms another, what they have to do, and so on. And he asks, why do we start with that particular tractate? And the answer is because you cannot have a relationship with God until you first have a relationship with your fellow man. We as Jews have to send this message to the world. This message is now being heard of people understanding that they have to have a relationship with their fellow man. We no longer have the luxury of just being by ourselves. Even though we're idle, we're still reaching out in whatever way we can to help others. The key is putting holiness into this time that we have. Let's not waste the idle time. Let's use it appropriately. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat. I wish everybody in the entire world a complete healing from the coronavirus. And I wish that we will see the time, hopefully sooner than later, when this dread pandemic is over. We can look past it. We will go on from there. thank God for what we have and that we've survived it, and that we are surviving it. Shabbat Shalom.